Allow me to make a quick point about the representation of railway equipment in video games, specifically first-person shooter games, because these are the games I play the most. I couldn't help but notice that a lot of games that ground themselves in reality often mess up railways, whether be it scale, time period, localization, or the overall attention to detail. Just a quick example, I couldn't help but notice that in the train chase scene in Call of Duty World War II, this is not a French or German signal, depending on where the train chase took place, but this looks rather British to me. So yeah, this video will be incredibly nitpicky. And just in case anyone is offended because I criticize their favorite game, no, this does of course not mean that the game is absolutely horrible, it just means that they messed up something. That doesn't make the game bad. A lot of these games I'm talking about today are games that I enjoy myself. It just means, well, there's one aspect that they didn't pay attention to that I noticed. Alright? Good. I've always been interested in big machines, whether be it tanks or railway locomotives. Everything big and mechanic, I find it kind of interesting. Additionally, I am also interested in history, and since these two fields often overlap, well, railway history is kind of interesting as well to me. So I can't help but notice that a lot of video games absolutely mess up the type of railway equipment they use for their video games. You will most likely find American rolling stock all over Europe, Russia and China. The reason for that is most likely the fact that most people do not care about railway equipment. And developers just use whatever assets they have. Especially in the case of the old Valve titles like Counter-Strike, Day of Defeat Source and stuff, they just used whatever they had laying around from Half-Life 2. That is the reason why you will find American flatbed wagons in France, especially modern American flatbed wagons. And yes, granted, most people won't notice and most people won't care.
Good shooting! Almost out!
In Wolfenstein from 2009, you will find American railway equipment used by the Nazis in Germany. This steam locomotive is missing its coal car, or tender. In the most recent Call of Duty, these Abrams tanks are loaded onto American flatbed wagons in Germany again. These couplings are rather rare in Germany. We got this interesting prop from Call of Duty World War II. This is its real-life counterpart. I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be modeled after the GMS-54. Apart from the fact that it's not quite accurate when it comes to proportions, this railway car was introduced in 1960. Call of Duty World War II, 1960. Especially in games where they bang on about the fact how realistic everything is, these are kind of disappointing errors. In the Wolfenstein from 2009, they even went to the length of researching time-accurate street signs. You know, the stop sign didn't exist back then, it was a halt sign. Very nice attention to detail. But the railway equipment is just American. One of my favorite maps from Day of Infamy has one of the most egregious scaling errors. That's just way too narrow. This is a type of scaling and detail issue I would expect from a Gold Source era game, not anything modern. Speaking of modern games, Battlefield 5 has for the most part relatively accurate models and scaling, but I couldn't help but notice that the trains on Rotterdam really have nothing to couple them together. They're just wagons without a coupling. But I guess the Battlefield creators have been slacking off when it comes to realism recently. Like this gas mask on the special character over here. This being a mask used by the National People's Army of the German Democratic Republic. You know, something that came up after World War II. And as we are nearing the end of this little rant video, let's talk about a map that I enjoy very much, if you can tell by my channel banner. D-Train! The recent iteration of D-Train is, not that fitting. Oh god. Yeah, that's attention to detail right there. I can excuse the fact that these boxcars have absolutely no couplings whatsoever because, they would get in the way of competitive gaming. People would get stuck on there. But not fitting them correctly to the tracks? Oh, come on, Valve. Even Counter-Strike Source had that. I'm going to end it here because I would just repeat the same point over and over again. Video game creators apparently just pick whatever railcar just fits. Half-Life 2 and its episodes were especially egregious when it comes to this because they're just mixing American and Russian railcars all over the place. Amtrak Guy 365 did a very comprehensive video on that topic. I can really recommend that one to you. But on the topic of Half-Life, I think, well, it's a science fiction game and science fiction games in general get a bit more leeway when it comes to unrealistic stuff. To note another Valve game, Day of Defeat Source, and of course the first Dev Defeat, are really bad when it comes to proportions and railway stuff. So now I'm curious to hear what you guys think. Have you ever noticed something like that in video games as well? Doesn't have to be about railway stuff, can be about anything that is, well, inaccurate to reality. Tell me in the comment section down below. And to counter the point, who the hell cares about this? Well, there are a lot of railway enthusiasts out there, and they will notice. There are even smaller things to nitpick on, like non-German power outlets in East Berlin in Call of Duty. Yeah, see that a lot. So, I hope you enjoyed this super nitpicky video. If you did, you know what to do. Give it a like, consider subscribing for future content, and maybe even support us on Patreon, as our supporters got to see this video first. To them and everyone else, thanks for watching. Hopefully, see you guys next time. Until then, have a nice day, and as always, goodbye and guten Tag.